In today's video, we're going to create a simple JavaScript stopwatch where you can start counting, pause counting, and of course to continue. You can reset. It will also get saved in user local storage, so if I refresh the page, it won't disappear, and I can delete them. Let's start by making the index.html page. Here we want to have a header one, which will be the timer itself. So 00 for months, 00 for day, 00 hour, minutes, seconds, milliseconds, and we will give it an ID of timer, a start button. So button, we'll give it ID start. Now I'm going to open the index.html using live server, and here is our web page. Let's create the JavaScript files which will make our page work. So index.js, and use it in the HTML script source index.js. Back here, first we need the start button, document.query selector hashtag start. Keep it in a variable called start button. We will start by creating different variables for each section of our timing. So a variable for ms, which is milliseconds, equal to 0, seconds 0, hours 0, days 0, and months 0. Now we need to add an event listener to our start button. So start button.on click equal to our function, and we are going to set interval, make a function that will run each 10 milliseconds instead of 1 millisecond, because a second in JavaScript is 1000 milliseconds, and in this function we're going to edit the value of milliseconds, second, hour, days, and months. So increase milliseconds by 1 if milliseconds is greater than or equal 100. We want to increase the seconds and return milliseconds equal to 0 once again, and repeat the same thing for others. If seconds greater than or equal to 60, hours plus seconds equal to 0. If hours greater than or equal to 24, days plus hours equal to 0. If days greater than or equal to 30, months plus and days equal to 0. We want to do the same thing for months as it is the last thing. Finally, we need to edit the timing in our HTML page to manage the new timing. So let's first grab the timing header using document.query selector hashtag timer, store it in a variable called timer header, and back here timer header.text content equal to backticks, first the months, then days, hours, seconds. Actually, I just noticed that I completely forgot to include the minutes, so I will add it really quick. Let m equal to 0 if m greater than or equal 60, h plus m equal to 0, and in the seconds we are going to increase minutes instead of hours, and we are going to have minutes here. And I just noticed that I did a mistake. This shouldn't be here, it should be in the set interval function. Let's work on pausing our timer. Let's add the button of ID pause and pause, and the pause button will be disabled by default. We will enable it only if the timer is counting. Back to the index.js. First we need to get the pause button, so const pause button equal to document.query selector hashtag pause. First we need to enable the pause button after the user clicks the start button. So down here, pause button dot disabled equal to false, and we also need to disable the start button. So start button dot disabled equal to true. Let's add an event listener for the pause button. Pause button dot on click equal to our function, and here we will clear the interval we created in the start button. We are going to call it timer. Let's label the set interval here with timer equal to, and now it will work. We also need to disable the pause button. So pause button dot disabled equal to true, and start button dot disabled equal to false. Let's test our application. Start pause start pause. Let's work on a reset button. Back to index.html button, give it an ID of reset, and we will make it disabled by default. Back to index.js. Here document.query selector hashtag reset, store it in a variable called reset button, and we will enable it whenever the user clicks the start button. Here reset button dot disabled equal to false, and let's add an event listener. Reset button dot on click equal to arrow function, and we will just return everything to 0. Milliseconds equal to 0, seconds equal to 0, minutes equal to 0, hours equal to 0, days equal to 0, months equal to 0. And we need to update the timer in the HTML page content. So timer header dot text content equal to save some time, I will take it, copy it from here and paste. Actually, I think we should enable the reset button only if the user post the timing. So instead of disabling equal false, we will disable equal to true, and in the post button, reset button dot disabled equal to false, and much better. Before we continue, we'll make some refactoring to make our code easier to read. So let's cut all of this from here and put them in a separated function called start timing. So const start timing equal to and paste. And instead of typing the value here, we will get it from another function called string timing, const string timing equal to arrow function paste. We can move all of those to another function called pause timing, const pause timing equal to arrow function paste. Or instead of calling it, you can directly make it the function itself instead of the arrow function. The same thing for resetting, reset timing const reset timing equal to paste. And instead of writing the value directly here, we will use the string timing function which we created earlier. And there is another thing I want to do, which is if the seconds is less than 2 digits, we will show a 0, then the seconds itself. Otherwise, we will show the seconds directly, and by doing so, the seconds row is always 2 digits. I will repeat the same for the others. And now all of them are 2 digits. And now we'll create something in the local storage that will save all the users timing. So in the index.html, we'll first add the container which will display the timing in. We will call it records container. Back in JavaScript, let's first grab it with document.query selector hashtag records container, and we'll save it in a variable called, and we'll create a function to save the records in user local storage. Const save record equal to, we need to first get the records from user storage, so local storage dot get item records stored in a variable called records. But if records is undefined, then we need to add the records to local storage, so local storage dot set item records to an empty array, and then records equal to local storage dot get item records, and we'll change this to let instead of const, and then we will records dot unshift to add the timing to the beginning string timing. We will call this function before resetting the timer, so here we'll change this to an arrow function, and before calling the reset timing function, we will call save record. I just realized that we did an error, which is we can't save an array in the local storage, so we need to save a string instead. Replace the empty array with an empty string, and instead of unshift, we will do records equal to, and we'll write some HTML here, so h1 string timing and the existing records local storage dot set item records. And now we just need to display them. Let's create another function called display records container dot inner html equal to local storage dot get item records, and we'll run this function whenever the user loads the page, so like here display records, and whenever he clicks the reset button display records. Let's test our application. Start, pause, reset. Finally, we need a delete records button, so back here maybe you can add a label like h1 records, then we'll add the button, we'll give it an id, delete records. We should place those outside the records container div. Back to our JavaScript, const delete rec button equal to document.query selector hashtag delete records, delete recs button dot on click equal to arrow function local storage dot remove item records, and display records to update it. We can use bootstrap to make it look beautiful. So bootstrap, first link, get started, copy the CSS CDN back to Visual Studio Code, paste it in the index.html page in top. Now we will search for classes we want in the docs section. So for example, I want to style the button. I will search here for button, choose the first thing, and it shows me here how I can make the button look like those with the examples. The only thing I care about really is what class I should apply to get this looking. Let's start applying them. First, the start button, I can add class equal to button dash success, and for pose, class equal to button dash secondary. For reset, class equal to button dash warning, and for delete records, class equal to button dash outline dash danger. To make it even look better, we'll grab everything in a div and give it a class called container. Let's see how everything looks so far. Much better. We can apply some spacing between both. So like here we can make 5 BR tags, and between them maybe an HR. We will make both of those at the same line. So we'll add for the h1 class equal to float dash start, and for the button float dash end. It now looks horrible, so we will add some spacing with bunch of BR. And finally, I think we should improve how the list looks. So back to bootstrap, let's search in docs for list group. I think this one is pretty good. So for the div itself, we need to add a class of list dash group, and for the elements inside, they should look like this. So back to index.js, inside save record right here. Instead of a simple h1 tag, we'll use the thing we just copied, and we just need to change a second link item to string timing, and now everything looks amazing. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe to see more content like this.